Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So Loki season 2 finale, series finale potentially. We don't know yet. Oh my god, what an episode. This to me is like breathtaking. I don't know how the hell Marvel is able to go from some of the like stuff at the beginning of this year, like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and then Loki just hits so well. I'm not gonna lie, this finale stuck the landing incredibly well, and the fact that it might be the series finale, I feel like this entire show has kind of came full circle in a sense, and the way that they were able to accomplish everything that they did in this episode, in this season, and the entire series as a whole, absolutely insane. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So right off the bat, I want to go ahead and say this. I'm sorry for making this video a little bit later than I planned. I was going to make this video and then go see the Marvels, but because I got loss of time, I just got done seeing the Marvels, and personally, I thought that was pretty good too. But to talk about the Loki season 2 finale, oh my god, what an episode. First of all, I want to go ahead and say, I love the fact that in the first season, right, season 1's finale, they did something different with the Marvel opening logo. They showed us the state of the timeline. They did something that really felt the final episode feel more impactful just by the way that they were starting the episode, and I think that they did that really well here. I think that showing the Marvel logo in reverse was really interesting way to start the episode, and automatically I felt like the tone of this episode was going to be a little bit different. I loved the fact that the beginning of this episode is like a time loop on itself, and we're just watching the same thing over and over and over and over again. I originally predicted before the show started that there was going to be a couple of episodes that were going to be like Groundhog's Day, and I'm glad that we got a Groundhog's Day type moment. I like that they really did a good job of making time, like, almost, I don't want to say they made time irrelevant here, but I like the fact that they kind of reminded us Loki is a god who's been alive for like centuries, so to him centuries isn't necessarily a super duper long time, and I love the fact that they're able to use time on their side because of that. Loki is willing to just keep going back and making small change after small change after small change after small change to try to get done his original mission. And I love the way that they do that entire sequence. I love the fact that he goes to OB, he's like, what could we have done differently? And then OB's like, do this, and then he's like, okay, I'll do that. And then after doing that a couple of times, and what's it called? It's kind of like the end of Doctor Strange, the original movie, like the first Doctor Strange movie, how they do that time loop or whatever, and for us it's like 3 minutes, but it's kind of implied that he did that probably about like 70 or 8 times or whatever, or something like that. And in this, you can tell he definitely went through the motions and did it again and again and again and again. And I absolutely love it because he got to a point where he's like, okay, you know what? Me having to learn through OB isn't going to work. Hey, OB, how long would it take for me to learn all of this information that you know? And I love that OB says decades, which it just kind of like helps to show how much of a genius OB is. I think that OB was such an amazing addition to the show, and I'm so glad that they got him in this show, because everything about him the entire season was just incredible, and I loved his energy and everything that he brought to the table. Him saying, oh, it'll probably take you decades to learn everything he knows, is because he's just a genius. Like, even back when he was his regular lifetime self on the timeline, he was 80 Doug, and he's like, yeah, I got a PhD in, this really hard science to master just so that I could do my day job or whatever. And it's just so funny because he's just a genius, and he doesn't really understand the fact that other people don't understand some of the stuff that he does. Like, he's kind of like a rocket scientist, and he'll probably hear the saying like, well, it's not rocket science, and think like, yeah, rocket science isn't that hard, because he's just that smart, and I absolutely love it. Because he says a couple decades, and then Victor Timeline is just like, what are you talking about? It's going to take centuries. And then just a little time card a couple of centuries later, and Loki's finally able to accomplish everything he's been trying to do. It's implied that he's probably watched Victor Timely die over 1 million times, which is just crazy to think about. And then finally they do everything exactly right, everything according to plan. They did the little marching the guy down the thing, pressing the gizmo button, letting the time loom do whatever the time loom's supposed to do, and it didn't work. And I think that was so cool. I think that was a great way to kind of like twist this, because if it was just a regular time loop episode and that was the finale, it probably would have been kind of boring. It probably would have undermined everything that we saw in season 2. And I like the fact that they just had that the first like 10-15 minutes, and then him failing and being like, all this hard work was for nothing, and him realizing that he needs to go back to before He Who Remains died and make sure he doesn't die. And that's cool. And I really like the way that we take a trip down memory lane, and he goes back to that sequence and he has that interaction with Sylvie over and over and over and over again. And he really doesn't want to kill her. He really can't. And I think that is just so heartwarming and great, because I think a lot of people need to realize Loki has never really loved anybody ever. Like, he's loved Thor, his brother, and then he's never really had like a significant other or anything like that before. And I think that the Lamentus 1 episode of season 1, we learned that Loki has finally been able to find love, and it's Sylvie, because Sylvie's like another variant of himself. And I think it's so powerful. And I like the fact that he's not willing to kill her, even though he's killed people so many times before. And it really mirrors what in the first season, when he's talking to Mobius, he says he doesn't enjoy killing, he kills because he has to. And now he's stuck in a predicament where he has to kill somebody, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to kill. He wants to be better than that. And I think that was just an insanely good arc that he went through with that. Now to talk about some of the acting performances, because holy crap, what they did here was just incredible. And I feel like if you had any other actors doing it, it would not have worked. But the sequence where, after watching the time loop and the fight between Loki and Sylvie over and over again, he stops and he looks at He Who Remains, and he's just like, are you really just gonna let her kill you? Why aren't you doing something, man? And then he throws Sylvie, and he's just like, alrighty, man, how many times have you been doing this? Same loop over and over and over and over again. And he even like talks about like, have we had this conversation before? I was taking it back so fast. I was like, oh my God, this was part of He Who Remains' plans. Like, he knew that regardless, what was going to happen was they were going to take his place, or he was going to still have his time at the end of time or whatever, and the sacred timeline would always be fine. And I just think that's brilliant. Like, he knew no matter what happened, he won. Like, he literally set the odds in a way that he is in control of everything. And I absolutely love it, because the entirety of season 2, we are believing full front that like everything Loki's doing is his own free will, everything Sylvie's doing is her own free will, everything that everybody's doing is their own free will. But nope, what's it called? He Who Remains is still like in control of everything, and they just don't know it. And I think that was such a cool reveal. I love the fact that this show and Gen V, another superhero show that was just out, both were insanely successful without really having a main villain. Like, yeah, he's kind of somebody who's in the way, and he's kind of a person who caused this problem that happens in the episode, but he is not by any means the villain of this show or this season at all. And he's just kind of something that gets in Loki's way, which I think is incredible. And then if we go from there, him kind of realizing the only options he has, according to He Who Remains, is to kill Sylvie or to just take his place. And I think it's great, because it sets up an ultimate ultimatum, and then we get that line from the trailer that we've been wanting to hear the entire season, where it's like, how do you choose who lives and who dies? And everything about that sequence, he goes back to the first time he ever met Mobius, and he talks to Mobius, he figures out, he gets advice from the one person he really trusts more than anything, which is Mobius, which I loved, and I thought that everything about that sequence was great. I really liked the fact that he kind of gave him one last goodbye with Mobius there. And one of my only complaints about the entire episode is that he didn't say I love you or anything to Mobius. I was really hoping that like once I realized that entire like reality was going to like fade away and spaghettify, I was like, please just say I love you. Please just say I love you. Please just say I love you. And he did it. And then he faded away, and I was like, stop that. But yeah, we get that sequence, and then it's followed by him seeing Sylvie and kind of having a goodbye moment with her as well. And I love their chemistry so much, because they bounce off of each other insanely well. And Sophia Di Marino, is that how you pronounce her name? Something like that. I'm going to put it up on the screen because I don't fully remember. She is incredible in this role. And the way that her and Tom Hiddleston bounce off of each other is insanely well. And the fact that Loki's kind of like, I've ran through every single possibility out there, and it's kind of coming down to, I'm going to have to kill you. And she like stubbornly goes like, if you're asking for my blessing, you'll never have my blessing or whatever. And I love that. And then I also love the fact that she kind of helps open his eyes to the fact that maybe there is something you can do. And she basically helps him realize the power that he has inside of him that he's not even fully aware of. And he destroys the Loom, and he takes it. And oh my God, this is where it being Tom Hiddleston is so crucial. I don't think any other character could have sold us on that sequence where he's grabbing all of the loose timelines and he's holding them together and he's forwarding them into the Asgardian tree of life or whatever. It was beautiful. It was insanely cool. The transition when he's on the time bridge or whatever, the gangway, that's what it's called. I couldn't remember that word earlier and it was taking me off. When he's on the gangway and he transitions into having his suit and his king armor and the new horns. Oh my god, yes. Marvel, peak Marvel, 100%. The fact that the whole story goes full circle, the fact that he has a complete arc and he ends up exactly where he's kind of always wanted to be, which is on the throne. But now he's doing it and he's holding together the entire multiverse. And I absolutely love it. And I think that it was such a great way to potentially send off his character. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I just think it was absolutely beautiful. And every single character got a really good conclusion in this episode. And I just really loved what they did with all of the characters. And oh my god, that was a beautiful finale. But yeah, so to talk about the one last thing, is this show going to have another season? Personally, I think it doesn't need one, and I hope that they don't. Because I think that with what they just did, especially with Loki's finale for this episode, they set up that this is something that's just going to be going on in the background of the universe and the multiverse, and it's something that, like, if we need it, eventually the TVA can show up and fix something. But as of right now, I think that there's nothing for the TVA to do for the next couple of years. I think that what they're going to be doing is probably crucial to keeping the multiverse intact, but at the same time, I think that there's not going to be like a core team of people who need to go prune timelines or anything like that. There's not going to be stuff for us to want to watch in the TVA, if that makes sense. And I don't know who our integral characters who we would follow is if they were to make another season of Loki. That being said, I really hope we see Sylvie again, because I don't see another time that we would be seeing Sylvie at all, which I think would really suck. Because, like I said earlier, I think that actress is incredible, and I think that she's one of my favorite additions to the MCU. So I don't know about that. But that being said, I think the future of Loki, they didn't say Loki will return at the end of the credits, which does make me incredibly sad, because like there's a chance that he might not. But more than likely, with Secret Wars coming up, if you know anything about the Secret Wars comic book storyline, it's like the convergence of the multiverse. Everybody in the multiverse is kind of being turned into one singular universe again. And it's kind of like how He Who Remains had pruned all of the separate timelines and then made one sacred timeline. That's kind of how the end of Secret War is everybody comes together into one giant universe. And I think in order for Secret Wars to happen, it would mean that Loki's throne and everything that he's holding on to and he's taking care of right now and monitoring is going to be like destroyed by somebody somewhere, maybe the Council of Kings, maybe a Doctor Doom or something. And Loki is going to have to fight to try to keep that multiverse together, and something's going to happen. The multiverse is going to kind of fall apart and go out of control, and he's probably going to have to be kind of a Nick Fury-esque and go make his team of Avengers to go fight Doctor Doom. That's what I think is going to happen. I can be completely wrong about that, but that to me makes the most sense, and I think that it really does a good job of setting up Loki to being one of the most integral parts of a future Avengers movie. Because, in my opinion, although this would be a good way to end his character and have it where we don't see his character at all ever again, I feel like there's a little bit more to tell with him. And I think a lot of people really want to see that connection between him and Thor one last time. And I think that in Secret Wars, it would be a really great job. And I think that it would be really interesting if in Secret Wars, potentially, they both die and then they end up in Valhalla together. And I think that would be really cool. Now, that being said, that was pretty much everything I had to say about this show. I absolutely loved it. I am really debating it right now, but I think it might be my favorite MCU thing of all time. When I ranked every single one of the Marvel shows and projects at the beginning of the year, I want to say I had Loki at maybe number 5 or number 6. It might be my new number 1. Like, I think that with it coming full circle, the first episode, Glorious Purpose, the last episode, Glorious Purpose, and him actually figuring out what his glorious purpose was, I think that there's no better way they could have concluded this show. I genuinely think that the team who did the Loki show is incredible. And they knew exactly what they were doing. They literally got everything perfect. One of my only complaints about this entire season as a whole is the fact that episode 2 seemed to be just a complete Brad Wolf episode. And then after episode 3, not episode 3, I think it's after episode 4, we never see Brad Wolf again, and he's not important at all. And it's like, why did we spend an entire episode with this character if he didn't mean anything? But that being said, I think the show is incredible, and I think it's the best thing Marvel's ever done. And if they ever wanted to do like theatrical release of Loki or Loki season 2 or even just the finale, I'm going 100%. That was beautiful, and I wish that I could have seen that in theaters because that was insanely good. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love and appreciate you guys for checking it out. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow. Bow.
He wanted me to trouble first, I did this. We planned a day, then we did this. Wanna be in love with the girls with the kisses. Don't give a damn, I'll rid this. I like this when I run the distance. I run the 5K, you go ballistics. I wanna live within the business. Buy more than what's on the clearances. You're getting big cause I know you're a physicist. I wanna deny this shit, I'm unlimited.